Start?
Yes.
We are ready.
All right, perfect. So it is 7 p.m. Let's get it. Hello, everybody. Thank you so much to every single of you, our leaders, being here. I really want to appreciate and really say thank you because thanks for you, we're creating this platform and we are expanding EOL. So by this, we can call other leaders from different communities. Thank you so much, everyone. And I would like to make a small announcement that tonight, unfortunately, is our last Thursday meeting event but of the year. Don't worry, it's of the year because by 2021 we will have still great, amazing, high-profile speakers as the one that we have tonight. That will they will come to provide their value in base of their transition of life, how they apply leadership in their career, and how it was helpful for them. Also, let's don't forget that we're gonna have by 2021 our first EOL chapter at Dominguez Hills. I won't give more information about it because I'm the no spoiler guy. But while we got a transition tonight, we'll give further information. But that being said, my name is Richard O'Valley. I'm speaker of Evolution of Leadership. Thank you so much, everyone, to be here. And I'm so happy that tonight we have the founder of Live for Yourself Consulting with over 10 years of experience on coaching, organizational leadership, and adult learning theory. He's also a complete. He's able to help you guide to your career, find and create whatever like you're going through it about your career perspective. So I'm so happy to have him here.
Is that my cue? Am I on?
Yes.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Thanks for the great introduction, Richard. I'm pumped to be here. This is such a cool platform, and it's amazing what you've built so far. So I'm looking forward to all that's to come, and I'm happy to be able to be a part of it. We have a smaller group tonight, so there will be some engaging type of activities that you can use your phone for to text some answers through, but also feel free to unmute and just trying to kind of chime in. You know, I was trying to think about what I really wanted to talk about tonight in terms of career development, and a lot of it is really conversational. So there's going to be some things that I'm going to talk about, but I really hope that all of you can also chime in and keep the conversation going, because this is really to answer your questions. I've had a ton of different types of jobs. I've been job hunting during a recession. I've had 4 different job opportunities provided to me on contract, and they were all canceled due to the economic environment. I worked as a bartender, I worked as a barback, I worked street festivals, I worked music festivals, I worked handing out flyers on street corners, I worked in delis, I was a dog walker. I've literally done it all. I was at the end, I was a healthcare executive before I decided to go start my own business. So the career journey is something that I have a lot of firsthand experience with at a young age. So everything from starting multiple businesses to working in the corporate world. I'd love to just answer your questions. But prior to that, I do want to chat a bit about some of the most important things that I learned along the way. And the things that I've learned that I want to share with you mainly relate to the mistakes that I made, to be honest. So can everyone see my screen? A little show a nod. Awesome. Okay, so to start us off, it is the evening time for everyone. Most of you probably finished finals, or you've been doing stuff. You've basically been doing stuff all day, and there might be stuff on your mind. So I'd like to ask all of you, at least for the next 30, 40, 50 minutes or so, that we just focus. And this is for you. Like, you're showing up to this event to learn something, to connect with others, but ultimately to add value to your life, professionally or personally. So if you're in your email, if you're on your phone, if you're doing things that don't relate to this event right now, you're just hurting yourself. So I'd ask all of you to set an intention right now. What do you want to learn? What do you want to take away? Who do you want to connect with just for this next short period of time? And if we actually have this mentality, if we understand that we need to set those intentions in our life, then we can gain so much more from the time that we're spending everywhere. So keep in mind, not just for right now, I'm going to focus and I'm going to be intentional, but for everything in my life, where is my focus? Where is my intention? Especially at work when you're showing up. We're going to talk a little bit about that. So thank you all for being focused right now. So I want to open it up and ask all of you, like, why do you work? One of my biggest mistakes or why do you want to work, honestly? One of my biggest mistakes when I was in my professional journey was I was working to get the next job. I was working to find meaning. And what that ended up doing for me is I actually ended up becoming resentful towards my employer when I didn't have the things that I was going to work for. I was expecting them to give it to me. So I was going to work, I had a great job. This is when I was a healthcare executive, I shared with you, but I didn't feel like the work that I was doing was meaningful. I didn't feel like my leadership was supportive enough. And so I'd go in and I wouldn't want to work. And I'd pull away from my friends that I made at work, from social relationships. I wouldn't volunteer for work that could have potentially helped my career because I thought I was working for meaning. I thought I was working to be challenged and to get to the next step, and my job wasn't giving it to me. So I want to open it up for one moment and ask all of you, like, why do you work? Why do you want to work right now? Feel free to unmute. Feel free to share. Just share with me, like, 1 or 2 comments. I'm going to pick on Emmanuel.
So I work, it looks like I already knew that was coming. I work for my family, for myself for the most part, and for everyone who's connected to me outside of that.
So you work because, can you expand on that? For connection, to support people around you, to support yourself? Is that financial, or is it something more to that?
I would say because of networking, financial, there's many aspects to it. If you are talking about in terms of a job, sure, financial value, but I also work for network because I know that going into networking purposes, that also helps in terms of making connections that could help in the long term. Helping people right now could also bring the value that I could need in the future to expand upon.
I love that. I love how you're tying it into more than just yourself. And I can feel the meaning behind why you're showing up to work. And you're bringing that it sounds like every single day. And that is powerful in itself. I saw in the chat too, there's work for family and good money, add value to your country, social impact and legacy. I have a good group here. I'm pretty happy with all of you. And so
Hey,
you're working. Yeah. And Allison, are you going to say something?
yeah, I personally work because I gotta have bills to pay. Because if you don't work, you can't really live. There's that classic explanation. I've been working at my local Target for like 3 years now. Like the classic. You gotta work to play, and it's like the more passionate you work, because when you choose a career, you gotta be passionate about it. Otherwise, it's not gonna work out. You're not gonna make like the money you want, but like you gotta work to pay the bills. No matter what you do, you gotta work to pay the bills.
There's a certain level of just I need to survive that needs to happen, 100%. And so I love that everyone is sharing what is meaningful to them. If it's money, if it's social impact, if it's for my family. And so, sometimes working for family, right, to meet a certain level of expectation or to help them can add a lot of pressure to our life too. And so a lot of times the reasons why we work, if we view them in a negative way, like I said, how before, when I was working for meaning, when I was working for money, for status, whenever my job didn't give it to me, I felt that I was in the wrong job. And when you feel like you're in the wrong job, that's when those negative emotions come in. And that's when we become our worst enemy, because we stopped seeing our job as an opportunity, our job as a way to keep growing and learning, and we start seeing it as the enemy. We start seeing it as the problem. And whenever you start seeing your job as a problem, then you basically make your days worse. You make your days harder to live. You go to work and you dread it. And so it's important to remember, why do I work? Well, why you work, and actually you can curate that reason every single day. A job is not the wrong fit. It's how you use a job. And so that's what I want to get into right now, because so often we ask ourselves, why isn't this right for me? Why isn't this job right? Am I not making enough money? Do I not have enough status? Do I not get enough meaning? And this is something that I really messed up in my past. And instead of asking myself, how can I make this right for me? I kept asking myself, why isn't this right? And whenever you ask yourself a question, you tend to find an answer. So if you're going into work and saying, why isn't this job right for me? Instead of how can I make this right for me? You're taking away your power. And my business is built off this idea of living for yourself, on this idea of self-leadership is what we're here to talk about. So what I want to dive into is, how can you lead yourself at any job, at any point in time, to answer the question, how can I make this right for me? How can I have every reason why I work at any job at any time? Because if you can do that, then you're making the most of each and every single day, and you're just going to be happier, which is honestly, I work, yes, for money, but also because I want to feel some level of connection and enjoyment and value from what I'm spending my time on. So this comes together into this idea of the career sweet spot, that at any point in time, your job should be best fit for you. It should be your sweet spot. And we can curate our jobs to be that sweet spot. And sometimes we can't, sometimes we have to find the next best thing. We have to continue growing. But even though we're looking to continue to grow, shouldn't change the fact that we can have a job that is at least is fulfilling, at least ties into the things of why we are working. So we're not actually losing time, because then whenever you are in a job and only looking to the next thing, and you're not taking advantage of where you're at, you're actually just wasting time. You're losing time. Like I said, you're being your worst enemy. So your career sweet spot is actually choosing what you want based on you, what you need at this point in time where you find enjoyment, not just the choices that are in front of you, not just what your employer offers you, not just what you think your job gives you. Because very often we are slaves to a job title, to a job description, to the work that we're given, to the way that we're treated, to the relationships that are around us. When in actuality, this is so awesome to know, I get jazzed about it, is that you can actually curate a job to you. And we're going to talk about that. So let's actually dive into this research area, how to do this, what's important about it. So the first aspect of enjoying your work, enjoying a job, is to be able to curate the work that you're doing, the actual work that you're doing. But to do that, you have to know what you enjoy doing. So think about right now what you've been studying. Think about your strengths. Think about past work experiences if you have some. And identify, just top of mind, you can jot them down if you have a pen and paper, or earmark this for later. I'll share the slides with everybody. Identify what you've been trained to do. So your top 3 to 5 skills. And these are going to be really important, because if you're not doing what you've been trained to do, what you feel good at, you're not going to be confident in your role. And this is why whenever you start a new job, whenever you enter a new class or an area you're not comfortable with, you don't feel good because you don't feel confident. And so if you can identify the things that you are good at and integrate that into the thing that you're doing, your job, you will at least have a certain level of confidence. And that's important to be able to do some of the other things. So other than what you've been trained to do, you also want to think about what you love to do at work. And this can be, maybe if you're not working right now, what projects you love to do at school. What are some classes that you've really enjoyed? What are some group projects that you've worked on? What are some research areas that you've really enjoyed studying that you just kind of lose track of time in? And so think of 3 to 5 moments at work or in your life when you've been working on something where you felt proud, you felt accomplished, where you felt happy. And again, right here, identify 3 or 5 areas, because these areas are going to be critical. They're going to be very critical components of your work that will help you feel confident, help you feel happy, and help you feel like you're in the right place. And so if you're ever at work and you don't feel like it's right for you, you don't feel like you're getting what you need, ask yourself, am I making use of my skills? Am I leveraging my strengths right now? And if you're not, then you need to start figuring out, well, how can I do that? What projects might I need to do? What might I need to volunteer for? How might I be able to change how I'm working so that I am doing what I'm good at and I am doing what I love? So this is one part of it. So I want to hear from you guys. There's this really cool app called Slido, because I want to make use of our time and have enough time for questions. So if you have your phone or you have a browser, you can go to slido.com. If you have a camera, you can even just scan the QR code. Go to slido.com and enter the event code evolution. When you get to that page, you're going to get to our first question of the evening. And this is about, what have you been trained to do? These are like, what do you actually like? What are your skills? What are your strengths? And so try to do this. Try to use your phone, scan that QR code, get to the event page. You can go to slido.com on a web browser, enter hashtag evolution. I'll give everybody a second, and I'll enter in just for fun. And if we have some issues logging in, let me know and I will X this out and just talk with you.
So we just enter in the box? Oh, sorry.
So if you use your phone, you can scan the QR code at the top with your camera, and it will open up in the web browser. If not, then you can just go to slido.com on any web page that you have and enter in the code evolution. I'll give you all a second. This is just kind of fun to do. If you ever have an event, a virtual event, this is it's a free thing that you can add into PowerPoint seamlessly. So I'll give everyone a second to do it just because it's fun.
By the way, I like the code.
I was branding, Emmanuel, branding.
Awesome.
So let's see. I know someone can do this. There we go. Listening skills, intercultural communication, problem solving, management, interviews, mentoring. Be a student, athlete. Hopefully that's soccer. If it's not soccer, then we need to talk. Sing, act, work, retail, play the flute, public speaking. Okay. So when you identify what you've been trained to do, what your skills are, you then can look for jobs with these skills. You can look for stories to describe these skills, by the way, too, to help people believe that you are good at these things. But when you're in a job itself, you can say, okay, so if these are my strengths, if I'm good at public speaking, I'm going to make sure that I'm volunteering for opportunities to speak and present. Or I'm going to be able to craft my job to go speak and present. Because if you don't activate those skills, you're going to feel underutilized. You're going to feel like you're in the wrong job, and you're going to feel really, really uncomfortable. And yes, you do learn things in a job and you do get better at things. But at any point in time, where you're happiest, where you're fulfilled, changes based on your strengths and based on a few different areas. So you can go into a job and not feel that great at it. So focus on your strengths initially, and then do a little bit of the areas that you're not too strong at. Get better at the things that you're not too strong at, and then merge them and shift what you're working on and what you're doing. But this is really important when it comes to job satisfaction. And you have the ability to change what you're working on. You have the ability to go and volunteer for different work that matches your strengths. And that's really important, just to be a little bit happier. So this is one section. This is one area of the career sweet spot. And thank you all for having some fun. That's coming back. We're going back to Slido a little bit later. And feel free also to share your thoughts in the chat as we go on and as I share some of these different areas. So feel free to just keep the engagement going. You don't know what you might find from other people too as you're sharing. So the other area is not just about what you're good at now, but also what do you want to learn? And a lot of people tend to forget this. They think, I want to find a job that has my strengths. No. We want to find a job too where you feel challenged, where you feel like you can start learning new skills, because it's important to apply skills you have. It's also important to feel like you're challenged and you're growing. And if all you feel is that you're challenged and you're growing, you're going to feel like not confident again. So it needs to be merged with this concept, like with your skills, with your strengths, etc. So let's identify experiences you'd like to have in the future. And I bet that list is super long, but it's important to have it. And also, not just the things that you want to learn, maybe projects you want to work on, skills you want to get better at, but what people would you like to work with? So I had this desire almost a year ago to work for a global organization and to work with a team again, which is why I ended up going to do some contract work for another organization that has global access. And I was on a team, because those were skills that I didn't have for 5 years, because I was working by myself. I was working on my own. And so you can plan that out. You can say, I want to learn this, and I want to work with these people, and I want to work on these projects. And that's important, because as you learn, right, you gain more career capital, which makes you a more valuable candidate, which allows you to continue growing in your professional journey. Because every job you have, it's called a career. not a job, because it's a multitude of jobs. And so you need to think ahead a little bit and say, where do I want to go? What do I want to learn? And if you have a little bit of clarity there, even if you don't have a lot, just a little bit of clarity, and see that the job you're in now is allowing you to learn and make progress on that track, you will feel a little bit happier, which is what we're going for. So again, ask all of you, what are you excited about learning in the future? What is something you want to learn? What is something you don't know right now, but if someone offered you to mentor you in this process, to put you on a team for this process, to learn this skill, what would it be? And this should just pop up on your phone if you had Slido open, or just pop up in a browser if you have that open too. So what are you excited about learning in the future? I'm going to pop in something as well. What do I want to learn? Oh, let's see. I see Spanish. Yeah, I want to learn Spanish too, actually. I want to direct larger teams. That's what I want to do. It's something I want to learn. I think programming would be in there too, but that's, I think, a much, much later thing. Buying stocks and reselling them, cool. I actually made that a big thing last year. I read some books on that. Because this could be self-learning too. Let's even take this out of the workplace. And how do you want to lead yourself? What do you want to learn in the future? How are you holding yourself accountable? How are you planning to work towards that? So if you want to learn how to buy stocks, what are you reading right now? What podcasts are you listening to? If you want to learn Spanish, how are you doing that? Who are you talking to on a daily, weekly, monthly basis? What are you watching? Can you watch shows that have Spanish in them? And so if we're not working towards the things that excite us for the future, we're going to feel stagnant. So we're not leading ourselves if we're not doing that. We're going to feel like we're not in the right place because we're not learning about our future. We don't feel like we're growing. Communication skills, management skills, CEO skills. So are you talking to CEOs? Are you in a place where you have direct access to a CEO? So if you're working and you want to learn CEO skills, then I would say, are you setting up meetings with key senior leadership to learn those skills, to make them your mentors, for them to be your champions and ask them questions? Because you can do this. You should feel empowered to do these things, to create this path for yourself. No one needs to give you permission to change your job, to craft your job, or to set an intention for your life. And these are awesome, by the way. These are so cool. I could provide you with these if you want afterwards too. They're anonymous, but I can provide like a list of them. So thank you all for engaging in this. So we have what we love to do, what we're good at, what we want to do, but now we want to get more towards like the purpose, this meaning, this connectedness that we talked about before. This is the area that I messed up on. I thought my organization was supposed to give me purpose when I realized that purpose is just within me. Purpose is something that I create. So I'm sitting there going to work every single day being like, there's no meaning at work. And I was like, oh yeah, oops, I could have made that. I could have created it. I was the one that wasn't allowing meaning to happen. So reflect on when you felt in your life you had purpose or made an impact. And if you can't think of any, a little trick that I love to do is to actually go back in time, get in your time machine, travel back in time to memories where you felt really just the happiest. You felt a spark. You felt extremely passionate. And in those memories, if you get a couple of them together, 3 to 5 of them, you actually will see a theme. You'll find little bits of value and purpose within them to hint at what you love to do in life. And this is so important because you don't need to find a job that directly relates to what you feel is purposeful, but you need to at least think the job you're doing has some level of purpose to it. Even if that's just, this allows me to earn X amount of money to do X thing. Because that also is purpose. That can create meaning enough to get you excited about going into work, to understand why you're doing what you're doing, and to see that there's a path ahead of you and that you're in control of what you do each and every single day. Because when you don't feel that you're in control, that's when the negativity starts to be created. Meaning and purpose can be expanded. It doesn't have to have impact, but it can be expanded to ask yourself what impact you want to have in the world. What impact do you want your work to have? What impact do you want the skills that you're learning to have? What do you want to be known for? None of this stuff has to be happening now. But for example, going back to when I was working in healthcare, I didn't feel my job was meaningful. I was working at a hospital. Can't get much more meaningful than that, right in your face. But because I couldn't see it, because I couldn't tell my mind that this is what I was doing, this is the impact that I was having, I didn't feel it. So not only is this about your goals and the aim that you want to create, what you want to create in the world, but it's also about your perception. So when you think about what you love, what you feel is meaningful, what impact you want to have, you can use that to curate how you perceive your job, how you perceive the time that the time you're spending on things, the major that you're working on, the classes that you're taking, the report that you have to write. All of those can be tied back to something that is meaningful, to give you more motivation, to help you feel like you're in the right place. Because a lot of life, it's not about being in the right place, it's feeling like you're in the right place. And if you can feel like you're in the right place, then that's all that matters. So asking you all again, this is fun. I love how engaged you guys are. What impact do you want to have in the world and those around you? What are you aiming towards? We've talked about your skills. We've talked about what challenges you want to face. What is this leading to? What impact do you want to have in the world and those people around you? Let's see. Top of mind, there's no right or wrong. All this is anonymous. Here we go. Put one in. I want people to reflect on my work. Ooh, that's powerful. Empower others. Let's go together. Make others happy, motivated, achieve their goals. We got a good group. I want someone to be like, where's something selfish? This is all kind of selfish if you care about it, right? I guess we're in an evolution of leadership. I don't imagine that's going to happen, but nothing's wrong. Community, union, no separation at all. Yes, inclusivity. Be a role model. Help others become self-reliant. We should all just team up. You guys are awesome. Let's get a couple more. What impact do you want to have? What do you want to see happen in those around you, the world around you? This is a tough question, by the way. You might not know the answer to this. And this is what leading yourself in your career will create. A lot of people think, oh, I must know what I want to do, and then I'm going to go do that. Well, it doesn't work that way all the time. It doesn't work that way actually any of the time. A lot of it is, I think I know what I want. I think I know what I'm good at. I think I know what I like. I think I know what challenges I want to face. So I'm going to go test something out. And then as you're testing stuff out, you learn. And as you learn, you grow and learn how to curate your job next. And then you learn more about yourself again and curate your job next again. It's so funny. People ask me, Ben, you have this business. It's great. You've grown it. You're successful. And like, what do you want to do? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know if I want to be a coach. What do you mean? That's what you do. And I'm like, yeah, but like, I want to keep learning. I want to keep growing. I'm going to always coach, but do I want to be defined as a coach? I have no ego attached to what I'm doing, because your career, again, is your career, constantly evolves and grows as your interests do. So yes, leverage your strengths, leverage the changes you want to make in the world, but don't be too attached to doing one thing. Be attached on this impact. Be attached on the meaning that you find from the work that you have. And enjoy, have fun. So I love we got a couple more answers. Be a positive influence, be an inspiration. By the way, you can do this each and every single day. You can wake up and say, I'm going to be inclusive. You can wake up and say, I'm going to empower others. You can wake up and say, I'm going to be a role model. And if you're not waking up and doing that, and that's important to you, you're not going to feel good on a daily basis. You're going to feel off, because these are the things that are important to you. Okay, so all this comes together, all this stuff that we were talking about, what you want to learn and where you feel challenged, what you've been trained to do, what you love to do at work and life. In the middle of all those is your career sweet spot. So if you're at a job or you're living your life and you don't feel good, you need to ask yourself, am I leveraging my skills that I've been trained? Does this feel meaningful to me? Can I see the meaning in the thing that I'm doing? And do I feel like I'm growing? Do I feel like I'm going to be challenged? And if you answer no to any of those things, you have the power. You can lead yourself to change it. You can say, I want to do that work here. I want to change how I do this project. You know what? The team that I'm on, I really want to work with this person, or I want to go have a meeting with that person. And all of a sudden now you start moving your job, your work, your life into this sweet spot that matters to you, that will feel good. And it's a constant, it is a constant craft. You are constantly doing this in any single job at any single moment in your life to ensure that you are in this sweet spot. So we're gonna put this all together. Think about this. Put it in the back of your mind, maybe journal on it later. What have you been trained to do? What do you love to do at work? Where do you feel challenged? What matters most to you? What impact do you want to have? And how can you use that information to craft your life right now and lead yourself into your sweet spot? And by the way, that info, all these bullet points, this can be used to describe who you are. This is your elevator pitch. This is your elevator pitch. You can use this whenever anyone asks, so what do you do? Who are you? Tell me about yourself. So thank you, everyone. You can make this sweet spot happen. Remember, though, to enjoy every single moment at work that you have. And remember, keep records so you can figure out where you need to actually mold your little sweet spot to, craft your sweet spot on a daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly basis, or whenever you feel like you need it. So thank you, everybody.
Amazing.
Amazing.
So that's just amazing. You know, just going into that. I definitely think that we're going to go into utilizing that when we go to the CSUDH campus branch once we start. That's going to be something that's coming out soon. Just wanted to announce that. So if you are interested, if you are from CSUDH, I know we've got a lot of positions already filled up for actually like the actual members for running it. And if you actually want to be just a club member of the EOL branch, just DM us through our direct profiles, or just go to the EOL page and DM us there. Super excited. This is going to be a really brand new project we're undertaking. And yeah, we're going to go into the questions now. I'll give all the power back to Ben.
As our CEO says, do not come at once. Who's ready for some questions? Oh, I dropped my water.
Yes, I like long walks on the beach. My favorite movie genre is horror, zombies. Is that we're talking those types of questions? No.
Well, it could be like that specific, but I have one for you. Like, for example, I don't know if you cross, between someone that, it is insecure about their transition of life or about their career. How do you know, or how can you say to someone that they're going in the correct path? How do they know, or how do you know that you were going into correct path about your transition, about your career, about your life? As you mentioned in your PowerPoint, how do you know that?
You never know. You never know that you're making the right decision. But what's so awesome about, is it this the right decision or the wrong decision? It's that whenever anything happens in life, fast forward 5 years, look back, it seems to be the right decision. So we're really, really bad at predicting if something is good or bad for us, because ultimately after we do it, we see why it was good for us. And so I'd like to say, if you have very, very similar decisions in front of you and you don't know which one to pick, to just make a decision and make it right. And if you don't know the right decision, make a decision and make it right. So you can pick anything. And if you know what you want to do, what you feel is meaningful, what strengths you have, what you want to learn, ultimately the path you're on is going to lead you towards a place that you enjoy. And it should be a place you enjoy ultimately. There are so many different, like every choice you make, just by taking this workshop, you've changed the course of your life. And so every time you make a different decision, you change the course of your life. So you've already lost an infinite amount of life paths that could have been potentially better than what we're doing right now. But that's life in itself. But if you actually look ahead and say, these are my values, this is what I care about right now, then at least you will end up there. No matter what path you go down, you will end up there, because there's infinite ways of getting there, if that makes sense. So I'd say, especially when, like, if I was to reflect back when I got out of school and all the choices I had in front of me, everything feels like it is the biggest decision of your life, when in actuality, it's just a decision. And it's just one decision of the multitude of decisions that you have to make. So if you keep in mind what we just talked about, what are your strengths? What challenges do you want to face? What do you feel is meaningful? And you keep that in mind when you make decisions, I promise you, every decision you make, you will feel it was the right decision ultimately.
Amazing. Thank you. I appreciate it.
And just unmute and go. Yeah, if you have a question.
Cool. Let's see. So it's really interesting. You actually remind me of a group that one of my mentors or somebody I really look up to. His name's Derek. It's just, you seem like the type of person that would be in one of those groups. Like, whoa, really cool stuff. How important do you think, and how often should one reflect on these things, such as values, core values, like what's the core values, purpose, and what's one's true wants and desires?
Yeah, I would say you can go the next 20 years of your life not caring about this stuff and end up fine, right? Because 20 years from now, you stop and you say, what are my values? And you live your life then, and you live a happy life at the end. I think very often we put so much pressure on ourselves, again, going back to the last question, to make the right decision, to have the right information, to do the right thing. And, as someone that believes in values wholeheartedly, I'd love for you to do it all the time. But just to preface, like, I wanted to make that disclaimer to say, like, it's okay. It's okay to not have all the answers. It's okay to test things out and have fun. It's okay to experience life for a bit, and that's all good. That's all fine. You will be okay if you do that. And then another disclaimer, though, is I spent 2.5 years of my life outside of grad school struggling to find a full-time job. And during those years of trying to get a job and getting contracts canceled and working in different industries, I did lose sight of my values. And luckily, though, I had a come to moment where I had a late night where I was partying way too much, and I kind of woke up and I was like, wait a second, what am I doing? And so I spent way too much time exploring that I lost myself. So I would say, go explore, go try things out, but always always check in with yourself and say, do I still see where I'm going? Am I still on a path? Do I still understand the importance of what I'm doing and how I'm doing it? Am I off track? Or if I'm off track, can I still see the path? Do I still know that it's there? Am I making a conscious decision to be off path? Because that's good too. Because I think, we niche ourselves in too much sometimes, when we do need to go experience and taste different things to make sure that we're on the right path. So I had a lot of disclaimers there because I didn't want what I'm going to say to be to be taken too seriously. But I think that you need to pretty much check in with yourself whenever you feel a little off. Am I in alignment with my values? What do I feel is meaningful right now? Do what I feel is meaningful? Is that what I felt was meaningful 2 years ago, 5 years ago? Because that can change. And if so, if you wake up one day and say, what I felt was meaningful isn't meaningful to me anymore, which can happen, am I in the right social circles anymore? Am I in the right job? Am I spending my time on the right things? So that I've kind of given you like 7 different answers, and I apologize for it, but I felt like there were 7 different answers to the question. But ultimately, spend time checking in with yourself to ensure that you can at least see the path, or the path that you're on is the right one. And there's no specific timeline. And I realized I went a couple different directions with that, and hopefully that makes some sense.
Life happens, check in. And I do you feel it like innately as well? I'm pretty sure like it's also sometimes a gut feeling, right?
The problem, it can be. The problem is though, is that a lot of times distractions can overpower that feeling, which is why a lot of people that don't feel they're in the right place tend to, I don't want to use the word medicate, but medicate with, risky behavior or comfort levels, right? Hanging out with people that they always used to hang out with, or doing the things that they always used to do, which tends to hide the fact that you don't feel good. And then you don't feel good when those things get kind of stripped away and you realize that, okay, maybe I'm in the wrong place. And that's why also sometimes that's like taking a break, taking some solitude from what you're comfortable with is really good, because it can help highlight some of those areas where you actually need to focus on.
Hi, Ben.
Good insight.
To piggyback on what you were saying, I completely agree with you. So in my own experience, I felt a little lost, like at some point in my life. And in order to kind of fall back to who I am, I had to leave. So I left for a year and I moved to a whole different town, to a whole different state. And I didn't know anyone but my roommate. And that was it. It was just myself, this one soul in this state that I knew, and that was it. And when I did that, I learned so much about myself because I left everything that I knew. I left everything who I knew, right? And I'm out in a place I have no idea what's going to happen, what's in front of me, or what to expect whatsoever. And then you have all these different barriers that you have to cross, and then you kind of just do it on your own, right? Because you have nowhere to fall back on. And you start to learn and even understand your own power and your own strength. And then, at least for myself, I realized that I'm actually a completely different person who I thought I was, because in my head, I was the individual who others told me to think I was, if that makes any sense. So taking myself out of my comfort zone and placing myself somewhere that I was unsure of made me realize so much more about myself than I ever have. Since I've ever managed to figure out in so many years, my whole life, basically. So yeah, comfort zones are nice, but stepping away is better at times and then coming back. And then on that note too, it's so interesting because when I came back, right, after that whole experience, or that getaway, I guess you can call it, I felt like everyone was stuck in the same place and I had moved forward. And it's not that they were stuck in the same place. It's just that I have changed internally. So I saw everything so much more differently. And I'm sorry I took so much of your time, but I just felt like I needed to share that.
No, that's beautiful. No, that's really beautiful. And I bet people can resonate with that. I was able to resonate with that. It really is important to get uncomfortable. When you have the ability right now to be uncomfortable, to take risks and not really have it influence your trajectory at all, in a way, if anything, it's going to add to it because it's making you more experienced and building new skills within you, and also testing to see if you're in the right place or you're on the right track. And I was lucky to be to force myself into situations where I was just no judgment, just experiencing life, trying new things and trying to make the most of those experiences. And it's interesting what you love, what you enjoy in those moments, what you're drawn to, where you want to spend your time, and you realize you have a lot of time to go spend. So thank you so much for sharing that. And then also when you get back and you realize that maybe I don't want to spend my time in the places that I wasn't before. So everyone here, no matter how old or young you are, you have programming within you, right? But your programming is based on the experiences that you've had, the books that you've read, the shows that you've watched, the friends that you've had, and the cities you've lived in, the people that you've been around, the food that you've ate, right? It's like that in itself creates how you think, how you see the world, what you want to do. And so by challenging that, by saying like, okay, I get like, I want to do these things because of how I've lived my life, and I can choose how I want to live my life moving forward. So I don't have to be constrained by those things anymore. And I can go learn new things and be uncomfortable, and then add value to my life, add skills that I didn't have, add experiences I didn't have, change my programming in a way to best fit where I want to go in life, and not be constrained by anything, any beliefs that I have about myself. I think the best part about, having a full career ahead of you is being able to say, what do I really, really want to try to do? What experiences do I want to have? Who do I want to interact with? And how do I just let go of the, you can't do that, you don't deserve that, and just say, meh, I'm gonna test it out. I'm gonna have a conversation with someone. I'm gonna send an email to somebody. Like you guys, like you have so much power right now and so much connection with the world. It's so neat, so cool. I didn't have that, right? Like I think, I'm young and I didn't get Facebook till like I was like a sophomore, junior in college. So think about the power you guys have and how you can just let go of all the constraints that you have right now in front of you, or you think you have in front of you.
Yeah, really amazing. Anyone else with any question?
Yeah, I see a question in the chat box. What were your special moments that helped lead you to choose this career path? Oh, there were a couple. I'm going to give you some highlights, okay? There's a lot of highlights. So I was a socially awkward college student. I was not very socially astute, and I was unhappy with how people were treating me. And so I made a decision to go learn about personal development. And that led to also business development or entrepreneurship. They tend to go together when you do some searches online. And I spent 4 years learning and just testing myself and putting myself in uncomfortable situations and building confidence. Because I used to go into a room and be afraid to go approach somebody because I was worried about what they were thinking of me, what they were saying. I thought people were laughing at me when I would go talk to groups of people. That would held me back majorly, hugely in life. And so I studied, social dynamics, exactly, interpersonal dynamics. And so I just studied. I loved it. I grew so passionate about it. And I just did it for me. Never thought I wanted to be a coach, never thought I wanted to work in those fields for other people. And then randomly, after I keep pursuing my professional journey and career, which is a whole different story. After grad school, I was in a bar talking to a stranger, because that's what I would do. I'd go out by myself, and he goes, "You need to meet my boss." And the next day he hires me to go run a nationwide social dynamics program across the United States. So for a year, I worked for him as a part-time coach while I was still pursuing my full-time career. And after working for him for a year, I didn't like his business practices. And I said, I'm going to do this myself. I have a message I want to give to the world. I care about this material. So I wrote a book, and I went to go sell my book and realized that no one knew who I was. Why would they buy my book? So then I had to learn how to build a coaching business. And so then I spent the next 5 years running this coaching business, writing for Ask Men, writing for Elite Daily, writing for Men's Health, going on Facebook Lives, coaching clients, giving presentations in person. And that those 5 years hosting a podcast, those 5 years taught me how to create a coaching practice. And the whole time, though, I never really wanted to be that type of coach. I didn't want to do that. I was working in healthcare. I was in process improvement, quality improvement. I told you I got promoted into an executive level position. But during that time, coaching kept popping up. So when I couldn't get a full-time job, there was an opportunity for me through networking to get a federal grant for life coaching for public health professionals. I applied randomly, got the grant randomly. 6 months of free coaching. It was amazing. Then I was working in healthcare. They selected me for 16 months of leadership training. I had my own personal leadership coach. I was our director of people. And so when I was going to work unhappy, I would share that with my coach. And and it hit me one day, like, I'm doing all this stuff for other people. I'm doing personal development. I have all this, I have this coaching background, not on my resume, but in business practice. And this thing that this person's doing for me at work, this is important to me. So I was like, I don't want to hate work anymore. There's no reason for me to hate work. I'm doing this to myself. So what can I do? How can I lead myself right now to fix where I'm at? Exactly what I was talking about with you. So I went to my boss and said, I want to do this. How do I do it? She says, okay, literally said, okay, go talk to corporate, go start doing these projects. So I started doing these projects. I started exchanging emails, communication, but then we got acquired and every single person lost their job that I was working with other than me. So everything that I was doing stopped, everything that I was excited about. So my next step was go apply for jobs that are in this field because I want to do this, but I couldn't get hired because I had no career experience because I did not volunteer early enough to have actual projects under my belt. And I didn't do this stuff before. And the coaching stuff I was doing was in a different field. So for me, the path of least resistance at that point in time was, okay, I know how to launch a coaching business. I've done that for the past 5 years. I can just rebrand. And how do I then get people to trust me? I have no background in this other than my own work. Well, I'm going to go back and get my doctorate. And so then I went back to get my doctorate in organizational leadership, and literally on the plane, flying to my first class, on the back of a napkin, I created the acronym for Live for Yourself Consulting, life, intentions, values, expectations, as the system that I would start taking clients through. And that develops into the 3 C's of self-leadership. And this over the years, through experiences, through hosting my own events, hosting another podcast, doing corporate workshops, through my doctorate, I was able to publish in an international journal. That kept growing and growing and growing my business, which then led to me feeling bored and wanting to find more challenges, which then led to contract work that I do now too. And so even though that was a long version, that was kind of a short version. So things you never know. You never know. And this is the thing. I would not have been able to tell you this is where I was going to be when I got out of school. When I got out of undergrad, I still wanted to be a professional soccer player. I was in the midst of starting a food business. And it was called Omega Flax. I can't remember the name right now, but it was an infusion of coffee and flax seeds. And I was working as a marketing associate holding health screening events at companies to get people to sign up for appointments in a chiropractic office. When I got out of undergrad, living at home. So no way would I have been able to predict where I'm at today.
That's really interesting.
I just wanted to say that's really awesome. And thank you so much for sharing. Truly amazing.
Really nice.
Thank you for asking. I don't get to tell the story often.
So how you left me speechless? I was trying to find out another question, but wow, that's nice. Thank you, Benjamin.
Yeah, of course. It's okay if we give the gift of time back to everyone. I appreciate everyone being here and listening and engaging and asking amazing questions. By the way, my LinkedIn was shared in the comments. Feel free to connect. Feel free to ask me questions. I'm super responsive. I love having conversations. I love, guiding in any way, shape, or form.
Any other question?
I have a question.
All right.
So my question is, what is your favorite thing about what you do?
Ooh, okay. So overall, I just like to empower other people. That's it. I like people to feel that they're in control of their life and at work. That's like what I want to do. That's what I love to do. So if it's through one-on-one conversations and coaching, or if it's the corporate workshop, I love that moment when someone's listening and they go, wait a second, I can do that. And it's not like the tools and the systems and all that stuff. It's more so like, oh yeah, this is my life. Like, this is what I have control over it. That's the one thing that I love to do. Because, for so many years of my life, I was so worried about what other people would think. I was so worried about, am I making the right decision, instead of having confidence in the fact that I could make it the right decision. I could make anything work for me because I am awesome and you are all awesome. And you know what? Even if we have a stumble, we're going to get right back up after it.
I love that. You said you can make your decision work for you. That's awesome. Definitely an entire shift in perspective.
It took me a long time to learn, so you guys can learn it a lot sooner.
I have
I'm definitely going to connect for sure.
Nice. I have a career question for you. I noticed that some people mentioned that they actually wanted to get into coaching. So since you're an experienced coach, for someone who wants to get into coaching directly, what would you say they should focus on? What should be the first few steps?
Whenever you know you want to do something, let's get intentional about it. So if you know you want to go and be a coach, start coaching, start learning about coaching. So listen to podcasts, read books, but do it in a way that you enjoy. Don't like overwhelm yourself. You have time. Don't worry about that. But also then ask people, hey, after you have read enough and feel like you have a minor system in place, go, hey, who would like a coaching session? And just try coaching. See if you actually like it. Go even send messages to people that have coaching businesses like myself and say, what is being a coach like? Because I'll tell you, it is not all glitz and glamour. It is nowhere near that. There's a lot of fun that I get coaching, but there's a lot of things that have to happen on the backside for me to be able to have that client relationship. So I'd say learn, but enjoy the learning aspect of it. Coach, because you have to see if you like it, and then get the true story from people that have done it. And that also builds your network.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, Ben. Yeah, I believe that can actually be applied to anything generally.
Yeah, in any profession that you want to do. What's so neat. So I thought I wanted to get my PhD, not my EDD. I have a doctorate in education. And one of the directors said, hey, you should go volunteer in a lab because you don't have lab experience. And I go, awesome, that would make me a better candidate. So I went to go volunteer in a lab, and guess what? I hated it. So I just saved myself a lot of time and energy of not having fun doing some lab work. So through that minor experience, a couple hours in a weekend, I was able to change my career trajectory completely, or my educational trajectory.
Awesome.
Jackie, did you have a question? No? Oh. Well, if you guys have any last minute questions, anybody else? We're about to wrap up soon.
Yeah, I have one last question. This is Evelyn once again. I was just wondering, how is it that you come up, or how do you strategize as far as like putting your presentations together? Like, where do you come across like these apps, or how do you, I guess, find the energy or the motivation to engage people and to have these comments and back and forth conversations in a virtual setting, and how to make people feel comfortable enough to open up during also like the meetings that you host?
So in terms of the tools and platforms, there's not too many. And you could just do a quick search online and come up, I think, with Slido. There's another one, Mural. They can use. There's one called Jamboard, which you can have. It's all about engagement and interactiveness. But honestly, none of those really matter if you just incorporate this idea of people don't learn as much if all they do is listen. And you want people to be reflecting on what you're talking about, and then being able to apply it either just through text in the chat or through breakout rooms. I love breakout rooms. And so whenever you think about teaching or instructing, remember that people will retain so much more if they're able to actually apply the material right then and there. So just incorporating engagement to anything that you do. I don't know if you can do that for presentations, but like stories are so much more powerful and memorable than speaking. Like if I told a story, you remember that story, you don't remember the bullet points I have on the screen. So that's kind of the tool aspect. Is just, it's, so I also by the way, attend other people's events and see what they use, because there's a bunch of stuff out there that people are using, and that's also a way that I've learned about a few other things right now. And so the tools, engagement aspect. How do I find the energy? I just understand that it just works. That's what I enjoy. Like if I want to have that outcome of people learning and actually taking away something from an event, it needs to be engaging. And what was the other question that I think I might have missed? I think I missed one more thing.
Yeah, so many, I think. You might have answered all of them, actually.
It was tools, okay. Engagement.
Yeah, just basically, I think overall how you put your presentations together.
Oh, there's, one more thing. So strategy. So a lot of the stuff that I instruct on outside of this in corporate workshops requires not only a mindset shift, but it requires an actual physical shift in how they act and work. So what I need to do to be able to and that requires someone believing something. So be able to do that, I need to shift their perspective. So what I do is I always start with mindset and then I move into strategy. So if you can get people thinking a new way, then you can get them to accept the strategy that you're trying to suggest. So whenever you're creating a presentation that's going to need a change in behavior, understand that you can't just start with a change in behavior. You have to actually start with changing how they perceive whatever it is that you're talking about. Because if they don't change how they perceive it, they won't change how they act towards it. So think about that whenever you're trying to do something in relationship to professional and personal development, or when you're trying to prove something and convince someone about something.
Awesome. So great stuff. Thank you, Ben. Again, Evolution of Leadership, we're branching off to CSUDH. If you want to go in and join us and, just pretty much follow in with just the great stuff that's going to happen on the campus. I honestly don't think anything's really happened like that, like ever. It's actually a really unique situation where it's almost like a Greek, but for a club. It's crazy. And yeah, just amazing stuff. I was definitely able to relate a lot of the coaching from the past. That's really cool stuff, and a lot of concepts. Any last minute words, Dr. Ben?
Okay, two things. One, the most important leader is the one that's inside you. Remember that at all times. You lead yourself. Other people cannot lead you. You always make your decisions, even if it feels like someone is pressuring you to make them. So always lead yourself, because you can. The second thing is I got lost with purpose when I was younger. I thought purpose was the most important thing in my life. I thought the purpose was, I was achievement oriented. And to remember that anything that you think is really important, by the way, anything in your life that you think is really important, a relationship, a job, anything, is only important because you choose, you want it to be important. So a purpose can never be more important than you, because you create it. That's kind of a tongue twister. It's kind of, for me, it's massive. And so please remember that in life. At all times, you are more important than anything that you think is important.
I don't know how else to end it. That's amazing.
That's it. And my cat is here to say hi. So she came to say hi. She needs to have a feature. There she goes. She's a little feisty. Okay, bye. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, guys. We fully appreciate it for tonight's event.
Good night, guys.
We're going to continue, expanding our platform and our EOL.
Thank you. Take care.